India, within the next 1 year, we should be able to show EBITDA profitability. For the first 1.5 months in the lockdown, our business was zero. Till date, the vast majority, even today, of our new users on the platform they come through word of mouth.
अभिराज, इंडिया में घर पे आना और घर पे वो सिक्योरिटी, कंफर्ट, फॉर सो मेनी केसेस फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम एज एन इंडियन हैव एक्सपीरियंस थ्रू अर्बन कंपनी. How have you managed to do that?
When we started in 2014, we started as a technology only marketplace, and our view of the world at the time was that technology will solve all the problems. Very quickly we realized that in the Indian context, the market is extremely unorganized, extremely fragmented, and technology is important, but it is not enough. So I would say about a year into our business operations, when we saw that the two sides of the marketplace are not really having a great experience, we took a step back as a leadership team and we asked ourselves that, look, is this the kind of experience for which we started the company? And the resounding answer was no, right? We asked the question, the ultimate question that, do our consumers love our product? And I think most people around the room felt that far from it, right? We have a lot of hard work to do. So that's when we took a call to take one vertical and go very deep in the vertical and at least understand what does it take to deliver delightful services at home, bottom up, rather than just take this, top down technology first view.
Yeah.
That vertical was beauty services for women.
That was 2014.
That was 2015 now.
14
we launched. 1 year we were doing this tech play only. At the end of that 1 year we said this is not working. Let's understand one vertical. By this time we have launched in 10 cities across some 50 plus categories through tech only. But nothing seems to be working. Right? By the way, we've raised a lot of capital and all of that has happened. Pre-revenue, zero revenue, already extremely well valued. Product is not working. So at some point you have to look at the truth, right, as an entrepreneur. So the truth was staring us in the face that the solution is not working, it's not going to scale. So we picked up the beauty vertical. And then we created a small team that went deep into that vertical. I don't think it was one moment when we said, oh, we have to do everything and this is the strategy. First the team came back and said, we need, these people don't have the right tools and products. We need to start building that. So we said, okay, let's go and buy that for them. Let's build that supply chain. Then they said, we've realized many of them don't have the entire, training needs that they have. They're either, they've only specialized as pedicurists, somebody has specialized as a manicurist. We need to train them on all the skill set. Then we set up a small training center and we said, okay, they'll all undergo 2-week training and they'll get trained. Then somebody said that they're not able to buy the products because they don't have working capital. So we said, okay, let's cut it from our, balance sheet for now. Over time, we'll figure out a loan structure. So one by one in that vertical, we started solving the problems as and when they came. And what we did over the next 6 months was quite magical. Basically, the entire brand of the company, all the repeat consumers we were getting, everything was only coming from that vertical. So on the consumer side, consumers started to know us as a beauty app, even though we had all of these other services. And service professionals, beauticians were landing up in our offices in the Horde saying, we've heard that, you can make 50,000, 60,000 rupees a month on this platform, so we also want to join you. So we realized that this is what product market fit actually looks like. Right? Till we didn't have it, we were searching for it. We didn't know what this, we always heard the term, we didn't know what this enigmatic animal was. But when you get it, right, then you realize it. Then you see that sort of hockey stick growth starting to kick in. That's when we said, boss, this is working. Let's start double diving on this across other verticals. And let's start building capabilities. And over the last 4-5 years, what we've done is those small kernels that started out, Shradha, they've all become capabilities. So for example, training. We now run over 250 training centers in the country.
Wow.
We have a team of 400 trainers. Most people now who are coming to us, especially in services like beauty, cleaning, etc., they have no background in the trade. So they are absolute freshers who are undergoing 2 month, 1.5 month, 1 month long training programs and getting trained. So that became a big capability we had to build. A second big capability we had to build was around product procurement, standardization of tools, financing. So one by one over the last few years, we started building these capabilities. And this deep full stack approach, which I'm a big fan of, and I think India really needs these vertical full stack plays, is what helped us standardize the end user experience. The end user, you will only see the tip of the iceberg. And that's what you're bothered about.
Yeah.
Right? You have so many other things to worry about. You don't really want to know how urban company is doing it. Why? What you want to know is, I push a button and then somebody shows up, uniformed, delivers an immaculate service at the right price. And then all the back-end operations, the technology, the training, the products, has to work to deliver that. So that's what we've built over the last 4 to 5 years.
And I have to say this, that first I used Urban Company was during pandemic, but I used it for food reflexology. Yeah, because you couldn't go, and I was like, okay, do you try this out? And I did, and now I can just say that every week I'm a repeat customer of at least 2-3 times.
Oh wow.
And
God bless you.
And I keep talking to people who come, and mostly what I hear is that they are able to get more money.
Yes.
There is respect, and they can work flexibly.
Absolutely.
And I think that for a large number of people in the country is a new thing, and I want you to talk about this.
We look at it in terms of 4 pillars. The first pillar is earnings. You have to be able to earn at least a living wage. Living wages are typically about 2x of the minimum wage in different cities. And they define what middle class is in our cities. So for example, in Delhi, living wages are around 25,000-26,000 per month. So as a starting point, what we do is we ensure that our service professionals, through the number of jobs they do, etc., are at least getting to living wage, if not more. So the average on our platform hovers between 30 to 35,000. Many of them make a lot more as well. And we are perhaps at least the first, and to my knowledge, the only company in the gig economy globally which publishes very transparently its worker earnings in the form of a partner earnings index. Every quarter it's on our website for anybody to see, and it's well documented, third party audited, etc. So that's the first. There has to be a substantial step jump in earnings. In our case, we've done several external benchmarkings which have shown that the step jump is between 50 to 100% minimum. Now you have to understand why this happens. This happens because this beautician or this cleaner or this plumber in the offline world is dependent on some middleman. This middleman could be a contractor, a thekedar, some shop owner, etc. And the middle layer keeps most of the margins. It is not them. But on our platform, because the end professional is all that matters, right? You're not interfacing with some small middleman who's then sending the beautician. The beautician directly comes, the masseuse directly comes. So the masseuse gets to keep 75 to 80% of everything that you pay as a consumer. And the more jobs they do, the better they earn. So the first pillar of earnings is very important, and if you don't deliver that, then nothing else matters. The second pillar that really matters is social security. Beyond earnings, service professionals want some kind of social security net, some kind of safety net. And we've done 3 things there. We've provided for life, accidental and health insurance to all professionals free of cost in India. So
you had it from beginning because there was some noise or some...
So we had life and accidental, always. We've added health this year. So we've added health free of cost for all people on our platform, and we've added family health for our top performing partners. We also have a bunch of financial inclusion programs for them, including bank account opening, loans, personal loans, vehicle loans, whatever they need. So that's the second pillar, which is around safety net. The third is around training and upskilling. Because, okay, I've joined the platform. I have been trained initially by the platform. Now I've achieved a minimum earning, which is better than the offline world. But I'm an aspirational person. I don't want to stop at 30,000. I want to make sure that I can get to 40,000, 50,000. My career should grow and progress, and I should be trained and upskilled for that. So the trainings that we do are not just one time in nature. They are continuous and focused on upskilling. And we have created career progression for all of these service professionals. So a beautician could start as a level 1 beautician, go to level 2, level 3, eventually become a trainer on our platform. And almost a significant majority of our trainers come from our own fleet of service professionals. So of the 400 trainers that we have, I think about 200 plus come from their prior service professionals. And the final piece, which is the closest to my heart, is on wealth creation and wealth sharing. Finally, all of them are partaking in the creation of this platform. Beyond the earnings that they get, are they participating in the wealth creation? This was a conversation that we've been having internally as a company for the last 1 year, even with the board. And earlier this year, we created what we call a partner stock option program, which is a 150 crore pool that we've created, where we expect 20 to 30,000 partners to become stock owners of the company over the next 5 years.
Wow.
So in these 4 pillars, we think lies the building blocks of a long-term sustainable platform that we are trying to create, which is very, very service professional first, and which is focused on empowering this professional to in turn deliver happy consumer experiences.
For urban company, scale would be of huge significance, right? Getting volume would be of huge significance. Could you share, like, how do you guys inside when you debate as a management or discuss, look at the unit economics of this model?
So whenever we start with what the consumer pays, the consumer typically pays, let's say, 100 rupees for a haircut. Blended average between 75 to 80 is kept with the service professional, and we are left with 20 to 25. That's the starting point of our unit economic stack. We have to make money on that 20-25. In several categories, we also sell products to service professionals, so there's a little bit on top that gets added. So it just expands the value capture that we have, but it's never more than 30, right? So when you pay 100 as a consumer, we get a percentage of that, which is, our take rate is between 20 to 25, and sometimes we sell some products. Now within this, we have to do training also, we have to do, service quality maintenance, technology, everything. Thankfully, at the unit economics level, we've always been very strong because the gross margin for that 20-25 is very, very high. It's as high as 80-85% because we don't have any cost of delivering every order. So once an order comes in, once you order a masseuse to come to your home and the masseuse goes and delivers, there's no cost we incur. The masseuse incurs the cost of travel and the cost of product. But there's a lot of cost in upfront training the masseuse and keeping them on the platform, and of course creating the platform, etc. In India, within the next 1 year, we should be able to show EBITDA profitability at reasonable scale, and then from there continue the journey as a profitable company.
Yeah, there is something right about the pricing.
Correct.
And tell us about that, because it doesn't pinch for a 20-minute or a 40-minute or a 60-minute to pay that amount of money.
One of the values is called win-win, which means you have to create solutions that win for the consumer and win for the service professional also. So finding that right price, which the consumer doesn't feel, like, oh, I got a great deal, I'm choosing Urban Company because it's cheap. We don't want consumers to choose us because we are cheap. We want them to choose us because we are good.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the service professional also feels that this is worth it. This is worth their time. They are making a good living. We are not just saying, hey, your opportunity cost is 15,000 a month, so be happy with 18. We want them to have a middle class life. That right pricing is always, it's a journey to find what that right price is. There's no benchmark. It's not like, this is a well-defined business or well-defined industry in India. So often the price we set becomes the price for the industry, and many other people follow it.
What's the feedback that you get?
We never hear consumers say that you're very cheap. Sometimes we hear consumers say that you're slightly expensive, and in those SKUs and those services, we take that as feedback. But most of the time we've heard that you're fine, you're competitive.
If you had to say कि घर में entry लेकर वो trust बनाने के लिए, what has it taken?
We always start with a very, very rigorous screening and background verification. Almost every person who joins our platform comes through an existing referral. Somebody on the platform refers them. We still would do a very, very thorough background check. We would check for identity, criminal record, personal home address. Somebody will go and check their physical address at home, and they will undergo 2 rounds of interviews in person.
Wow.
Now this is not common for marketplaces. Marketplaces want to be technology first, sab kuch technology hona chahiye. We do skill-based interviews in person in that city, right?
Wow.
And this stage gate process means that only 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 people get accepted to the platform. So there is a big screening that happens upfront only. That's very, very important because that's half the battle won.
Yeah.
After that, we train everyone. No questions asked. Whether you're an expert or you're a fresher, you have to go through our training. If you're an expert, you'll undergo 1 week training. If you're a fresher, you'll undergo 2 months training, but you have to be trained in the Urban Company way of doing things. And in these trainings, Shradha, we don't just look for skill. We look for attitude. And we look for customer centricity, and we see, is this person coachable? Yeah. And is this person customer centric? And if you're not customer centric, then no matter how good your skill is, we are happy to say you and I are not a fit, because often we feel that coachability is very important. In fact, we love freshers. We love people who have no prior background in the trade because we can coach them. They come with no baggage. We can train them in the Urban Company way of doing things.
Yeah.
So that's the second. I already spoke about standardizing tools, products, etc. We extensively use technology in every element of the service delivery to ensure that there is compliance to our SOPs. I don't know whether you've seen the professional, every time they start a service, they are taking some kind of a selfie.
Yeah. And
This
they
is-
ask for OTP number and
So the selfie is our image recognition software, which tells that is the person who's truly assigned, has that person gone there or not. So small checks and balances like this ensure that there's standardization and consistency. Finally, a lot of this is incentive alignment. You want to make sure that the service professional is incentivized to create delight, not just incentivized to follow SOPs. He or she has to go slightly above and beyond and delight the consumer. So a lot of how our marketplace is designed in terms of incentives, in terms of the benefits you get, etc., is to make sure that you go above and beyond. So these are the principles or the building blocks. In COVID, all of them got tested because suddenly people said, we don't want anybody coming, even forget about coming to my home, right? Like I'm not even getting out of my home. And it was an existential moment for the company. And for the first 1.5 months in the lockdown, our business was zero. So we genuinely had this existential question. And we had a choice, the choice was either should we cut costs, preserve costs, go back into like hibernation mode for some time and wait for the pandemic to get over, or do we invest and do we play on the front foot? And we chose to do the latter. Firstly, we protected the entire supply side. We made sure that they had enough money so that they don't leave. And one of the things I'm very proud of is none of them left. And our focus on SOPs, our focus on quality, our focus on safety was at the next level during the COVID pandemic. And we heard consumers tell us when the lockdowns lifted that we are using you because we are trusting you, right? That the brand is coming out. And you'll be surprised, Shradha, after that initial zero, like going to zero, the platform really
you had
grew.
people like me and so many
Exactly.
who all came for the first time, started regularly.
First time,
Did you have a lot of first time users coming?
We did have a lot of first time users, we had a lot of repeat users.
Yeah.
And it was not because, online is great, right? Because there's nothing called online. We're delivering the service offline. It's not an online service.
Yeah.
Right? Like in other categories like EdTech, etc., there was an online delivery of the service.
Yes.
But we were still getting into your home. It was just that a lot of our consumers said, I trust your brand. Whatever I've seen of you, whatever practices you're talking about, I believe they're the safest option available to me.
And I have to say that I don't know if you tracked this, but word of mouth was also a very strong.
Yes.
So did you track that word of mouth for the brand? Because I think trust comes there also,
Yes.
right? When people start talking and
we very
referring.
religiously track it.
Yeah.
Till date, the vast majority, even today, of our new users on the platform they come through word of mouth. They come because a friend or a family member recommended them.
Yeah, kar lo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Of course, the brand plays a role, branding, advertising, all of that plays a very critical role in creating, top of mind recall, consideration, etc. But the final trigger is always a friend saying, or somebody in your society WhatsApp group saying, try Urban Company, they're good at this.
Yeah.
And that's the moment of truth, right? Like everything else falls flat if that word of mouth doesn't happen.
Tell me, what does it take to scale the company as fast as the market is scaling?
Team is very, very critical. In fact, after a certain point, you cannot scale the business as an entrepreneur unless you have a really empowered team and a team that is truly committed. One of the things we take great pride in is that we have a great team at Urban Company, and we're not just great at recruiting talent, we're great at retaining talent, and that talent stays for a long period of time and they make this company their own. That comes from leading with humility, Shradha. It comes from a belief system that everyone's equal. You might be an entrepreneur because you started it out, but it is equally entrepreneurial for, like today, I can say with a lot of pride that I know that there are maybe 50, 60, 70, maybe up to 100 people in UC who are extremely smart, extremely driven, all of that is a given, but they are also as paranoid about this company, its mission, its vision, about building it as I am. So I think that's just a great place to be. Whenever things break also, you're not sleeping with the view that I'm the only guy worried about it. You know that there are many other people who are at it, right? And so you can sleep peacefully.
And what have you done as a leader, as a CEO, as a founder?
Trust people. That's the starting point, I think. Empower them, trust them. Let them make their mistakes, let them lead, but give them immense amount of responsibility and ownership, and then trust them, right? And back them. The goal is to get them to succeed.
Because you're also young, you're also learning a lot.
I learned the hard way. I think teaming is also really, really important. A lot of my time now goes into how do we team better together? How do we, collaborate better? How do we divide and conquer? How do we have each other's back? I think it's a team sport, right? It's not, at least at Urban Company, we don't like to divide ourselves into very clear functional silos. Your work is marketing. We have all of that, but we want a collaborative teaming because our problems are tough. Our business is really tough. It's complex. So we need people to come together and say, okay, we'll team on this, these guys team on this, let's divide, conquer, let's achieve. It always starts with common alignment on mission and vision. That's the most important.
And how do you go after category?
So we have two large verticals in the company. There's the beauty vertical and the home vertical. Within each of these verticals, we are adding newer and newer capabilities and newer services, and always doing pilots. So some of our flagship services like salon services for women, massage services, haircuts for men, these have been around for some time. We're constantly innovating on them. Within the home vertical, we have flagship services like cleaning, electricians, plumbers, carpenters, AC repair, etc. So in the flagship services, the focus is keep going deeper, keep giving a better experience to the user, keep adding new selection of SKUs, etc. Beyond this, we are doing a whole host of experiments on new services to see which ones take off. And we're constantly adding these new services. Once they cross that minimum threshold where pilot is proven, then we roll it out across the country. So I'll talk about a few recent rollouts. So in beauty, we've rolled out nail services for women. So now you can get a dedicated, highly trained nail therapist to come to your home to do just nails. We've launched what we call Skin Clinic, which is laser at home, high-end facials, dermatherapy, etc., etc. We have our own dermatologists, we have our own technicians, we have our own equipment. So it's a fully built vertical that we have created. On the home side, we've been doing painting for the last couple of years, and that's really, really growing. But now we've launched something called one-day painting or half-a-day painting. So even if you have somebody who's made a small drawing, a kid has made a drawing, some patchwork is coming out, there's some seepage, etc. You don't have to go through a full day or multiple days of painting. For as little as less than 1,000 rupees, you can call our painter and they'll paint it, they'll take care of it and go over.
Wow.
Our vision there is that we should be able to do interesting decorative things in your walls, so that if you get bored every few months, you can change a wall for very little amount of money, and this is real painting versus a sticker on the wall. That's one interesting service. On the cleaning side, we're now dabbling with, and this is still early because it's in the pilot phase, we're dabbling with moving away from on-demand cleaning to a subscription model for cleaning. So you become a subscriber for us, and when we do a bunch of cleaning services for you with a certain periodicity. So like this, there are many more. Eventually, we want to offer a whole variety of services. Unfortunately, we can't do everything ourselves, so we're now also looking at other companies that might be doing it. For example, for a very long time, I've been wanting to find a good partner for pet services at home. I think it's a huge market opportunity.
Yes.
And to any of your viewers who are thinking of a new business idea, I think pet grooming, pet care is a phenomenal industry.
Absolutely.
Very big and very ripe for disruption. UC cannot keep going and building every service on its own. So we also need other people to come and build who can partner with us. So if anybody is building it, we are more than happy to partner with them and bring them onto the platform and provide them the demand that they need.
Will you tomorrow partner with people who might be doing interesting things and can use your platform for?
Absolutely. For the smaller niches, we are looking at different companies now. We're seeing who can be interesting partners for us, which we can do under our slightly more marketplace model.
So how do you look at the persona and think, क्योंकि उससे शायद जो watch कर रहे हैं उनको idea हो which are the business categories and
so we think of it very simply. Our consumer is a busy middle class household, pressed for time and looking for quality services at their doorstep. And then every service that is possible over time, eventually, we're not in a hurry, but eventually we'd like to do it. So if it's elderly care, at some stage we want to do it. If it's nannies, at some stage we want to do it. If it's chefs, at some stage we want to do it. We may not do everything ourselves. We may partner with other people to provide it. So we are not wedded to the model, but we are wedded to the outcome. The outcome being delightful services at your doorstep through the platform.
Give us a peek into some of the challenges you have as a business? क्योंकि बाहर से तो लग रहा है बहुत phenomenal है.
The biggest challenge is that it's a complex business, Shradha.
Of course.
When we operate in a city, it's not like the city is a monolith. For example, Delhi NCR has 38 micro markets that we operate in, 38 smaller hubs. Bangalore has around 28. So we have some 25 to 30 trades on the platform. Each trade is unique because a plumber can't do a carpenter's job. A nail therapist cannot do a beautician's job. So there are like 30 such categories. And then across our 52 cities, we have somewhere close to 1400 micro markets. So the first complexity is that you have 1400 micro markets on the y-axis and 25-30 trades on the x-axis. So you have something like nearly 30,000 micro marketplaces where you have to balance supply and demand. Because when you come looking for a plumber in your micro market, it doesn't matter to you कि बाकी जगह है कि नहीं मिला आपको, तो you'll be like, what, urban company doesn't have this. And then that trust quickly goes away for everything else also, because now you start to assume कि कुछ नहीं मिलेगा इनके platform. 30,000 micro markets balancing supply and demand, and supply for us is not, goods. It is real human beings. So human beings fall ill, they wake up to a bad headache, they have fights, etc., etc. So they, they may tell you that they're working, but they may not choose to work. Flexibility is a hallmark. That's very complex, and that's one big part of the complexity. The second big part of the complexity is standardization. Again, there's a human element to what we do. So no matter how hard we try, services by design is a non-standard category, right? So how do we standardize and standardize and standardize without losing the magic? Because you don't want it to be a very, bland standardized massage that you got, right? So you want, the standardization is the hygiene, and at the same time you want that magic to be retained, where the person is sweet, talks to you nicely, goes above and beyond. That's the second piece of the complexity. Then the third is just, doing this across so many cities, 43,000 service professionals, things break, consumers are unsatisfied at times, service professionals are unsatisfied, everything comes to us, we have to manage and all of that. So that's another challenge. I mean, there's so many more. I could go on and on. We'll end up spending the whole day. I have a long list of challenges, but it's fun. Because these challenges mean that you wake up every morning, right? And you have work to be done. And you tell yourself that you'll work harder and you'll do better.
Indian consumer is not a monolith, like, एक नहीं है, मतलब सब अलग हैं. But कुछ traits similar होंगे, कुछ अलग होगा. You, as a founder, now doing this business, what are some of the things you've learnt about Indian consumer?
Indian consumers are genuinely really, really nice. And I'll give you a few examples. The number of times I hear stories from service professionals that the consumer made me sit and eat food, right? Like they said, oh, this service has gone on for too long, you need to have lunch or dinner with us.
I do that regularly.
You do that, right? See, that's an amazingly powerful thing. Nobody does this elsewhere in the world. We might think it's a normal thing, but no, people don't do that, right? Sharing a meal is a very, very private thing, and the Indian consumer does that, and many of them do that. I've seen many examples of, especially because we have 35 to 40% of our service professionals are women. I've seen examples where the consumer has gone and dropped them back to their home. So there are some wonderful stories. I'm often amazed at how actually our consumers, many of them have they develop deep relationships and bonds with their service professionals. Many of them use them over years. There's a feature of rebooking, so you can book the same person again and again.
But I have a question, Abhiraj. Do you face this challenge, which happened with earlier different platforms in different contexts, that you take the number of the professional and you call directly and not through the platform?
Some of it happens, but how we try to solve that, Shradha, is we try to focus on adding value on both sides of the marketplace, to go through the marketplace versus trying to prevent this. And we hear some beautiful stories from service professionals. So I'll give you a few examples, right? One of the things they tell us is that if I go off the platform, I lose pricing power. A professional described it very well to me. They said, so I go from being a massage therapist to being a malish wala. I can no longer charge that pricing power, and forget the 20-25% that urban company gives. Now it's a slippery slope, right? It will stop at anything. Last minute cancellations are actually very prevalent in the offline world. And this is no fault of the consumer. We just don't realize that भैया अभी बिजी हैं आप बाद में आ जाना, कल आ जाना भैया, या अभी चाय बना रहे हैं आप वेट कर लो. What doesn't occur to us is that this is monetizable time for the service professional that is getting lost. It's not like they can replace that. For a variety of reasons on our platform, the way we've structured it doesn't happen. If it happens, we compensate the service professionals. So they love this. The utilization, the way they get utilized, there a lot of the efficiencies on making sure that they're doing jobs versus spending time traveling or spending time at home. So professionals realize that if they commit to the platform, they are actually much better off. Both from an earnings, they actually earn more money, counter to how they would think. They actually end up earning more money, and long term also there's a career that the platform offers.
And there's respect.
And there's respect. The most important thing.
There's
respect. There's a sense of belonging to a community. There's a brand. Right, and that really, really matters. To
them. Abhiraj, which all countries are you in right now?
So apart from India, we are in a few other markets. Our first launch was in UAE, where we've done quite well. In the pandemic, we also launched in Singapore and Australia. Recently, we've also launched in the Saudi. These markets are at different stages of maturity, but the good news is that all of them are doing well. We may launch in one or two more markets, but we are also very focused on India. In fact, we have significantly expanded our footprint in the last 1.5 years. So when the pandemic started, we were only in, I think, 10 cities in India. Today we are in 52 cities.
Wow.
And we want to be in about 80-90 cities.
So in last 2 years you are saying
we've added 42 cities.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That is a huge number.
Yes. So there's a lot of focus that India has also, India is very much front and center of our focus today as a business.
And what do you have to say about the funding, coolness? क्या कहते हैं word क्या coolness नहीं drought या something
funding decline
ये सब जो हो रहा है.
It's part of the cycle, Shradha.
You've always been well funded.
We've always been well capitalized. The nature of financial market, Shradha, is that they tend to operate in extremes, right? So when they overshoot on the higher side, they overshoot on the higher side by a lot, and when they go into what is called bear markets, they undershoot also, right? I think as a builder, it's an important signal to keep in mind, but at least we've always built with a certain trajectory in mind, which doesn't deviate a lot basis what's happening externally. We are opportunistic. When capital is available, we raise it, but we don't let that change, the way we build the company. And I think it's also, as a DNA, as a company, we are a little more conservative. As a company in our DNA and the way we do business. We'll take longer to build, but that's fine. As a company, we are not in a hurry, and we don't think about 1 year, 2 years. Whenever we make decisions, even though we're only 8 years old, we like to think 10 years, and that's good. That's helpful, right? Because we are not building this company for the next 1 year or 2 years or even 5 years. We're building this company forever.
And between your co-founders, how have you managed to keep the co-founder equation tight and okay?
We're 8 years in now, and I would say we're at this point in time, again, knock on wood, stronger than we've ever been as a co-founding team. There are certain basic principles that we follow. There has to be a lot of mutual respect, right? So co-founding is, I say it's like marriage. Two things have to be there. There has to be love and there has to be mutual respect. These two things are non-negotiable, right? If they go out of the if they go away, then it doesn't work. So we are truly equal in every which way, in everything we do, and in every aspect of whatever we are. The three of us, we are equal, and we tag team well together. We divide and conquer well together. We don't overtly second guess. There's a good understanding of, you're saying it, let's do it for you. I'm saying this one, etc. It develops over time. We have fights. Fewer now than we used to earlier, but it's in a good space right now.
Abhiraj, for all the viewers who are listening to you, while you are very well capitalized and you've got some best investors, it wouldn't have been easy initially, right?
Yes.
To sell the idea, to get people to believe in this. What were some of the things that got you to get people to to convince some of these investors?
I think initially, especially in the early stages, I think it's largely a function of the vision and the team. You have to paint a vision of a company which will change the world. And sometimes I go back to our early decks and I wonder that where was this confidence coming from? Because I can tell you, even when we had nothing, we would, our decks would start by saying we're changing the world, right? Like, and I think it's important, Shradha, right? Like, I was recently. I'll tell you one of the earliest inspirations of entrepreneurship for me. I was recently sharing this with a small group yesterday. I was in final year at IIT. This is 2008, and Naveen Tiwari had come to campus to deliver a talk. He had just started in Mobi. He used to be called M Coach at the time.
Yes.
And he was this Harvard guy who had left his job and come back.
And you were in IIT Mumbai or Delhi?
I was in IIT Kanpur, and he's also IIT Kanpur. I was actually telling him this recently. I said, Naveen, you spoke, and he obviously spoke very eloquently, Naveen being Naveen. But, he basically said, I'm going to change the world, right? And I was looking at him, I said, look, if this guy can change the world, then so can I, right? So, that sometimes and Naveen was talking about how he had heard the presentation of someone else, who had seeded that kernel of entrepreneurship. So, how these dots connect, it's very difficult to tell,
Yeah.
But I do remember feeling extremely ambitious, like painting this picture that we're going to build, a very, very large company that's going to positively change the world, that's going to change how consumers avail services. And I think it's important. Whenever I talk to young entrepreneurs, I like to see that, that almost irrational exuberance and that irrationality. You didn't join entrepreneurship, to be rational, right? Like the whole decision of doing something that has never been done before is irrational.
Yeah.
So it's okay. The journey will anyways make you rational, and it will bring you down to earth.
Yes.
But it's good to start with that. So I think it was that and the team initially. There were many. You get many no's. So you have to be okay with no's. We have been rejected by so many people so many times. Good news is you just need one yes, and that's it. You just need one yes, and you're on your way, right?
Yeah.
And you should be on your way regardless.
Yeah.
So even if you don't get that yes, you should be on your way,
Yeah.
right? You should bootstrap. You do whatever you want to, right? It's building the company is not contingent on getting funding, but of course, if you get that funding, then you can build it faster, you can build it larger, etc.
So 2022, are you still going to change the world, or
Of course.
have? All right. Yeah.
No, we have not. We have not.
But you've changed a lot in the way Indians consume a lot of things, and most importantly, I'll say beauty. क्या कहते हैं उस segment को? Beauty, massages and all, everything is that segment, beauty?
Yes, absolutely.
And wellness?
Beauty and wellness.
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely has changed, right, in India?
Absolutely.
Like 2022, we can say that, and this is not going to change back, this behavior. And that you've managed to do.
It hasn't changed as much as we would like it to.
Yeah, of course, you have to have your ambition of getting every person, but definitely that has changed in the country.
A little bit, yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This was
pleasure.
very, very good. Very loved talking, and you spoke very authentically, and I think that was the best part. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shradha. Thanks for having me.